Hey, this is Lee Balcom. As I'm recording we're on let's see, January 2nd, and that means we're 4 days from January 6th. And I'm going to tell you why that's important in just a minute. What I've got in my hand are actually two emails, and I want you to understand that this video is meant to caution you, not to try to scare you, not to try to bring terror into your life right now. That is not my intent. But there is a day that is coming up, and here we are through the holiday seasons, and one more day of, I don't know, commemoration, I don't know what you want to call it, unofficially a date that is on the calendar, that January 6th. And the reason that that is important is what happened in these emails that are just about a week apart from last year, the first January. The first Monday of January of last year. And the next one came Tuesday, a week and a day later. Okay, so here is kind of the layout of this. People have asked me before, are there any bigger times of the year where there might be marital problems? And my answer is yes. There are three big spikes. The thing about human nature is that we tend to follow patterns, similar patterns. If you notice, like remember back in high school when everybody thought they were dressing differently and they were just like everyone else. And so the trends kind of show that everybody thinks that they're being individuals and yet they're doing the same thing. I mean, here I am playing pickleball in the midst of a huge pickleball boom. So it's not like I discovered this secret sport that nobody's doing. There's just not much of that, right? And especially with social media now, we're just bombarded with very similar messages. So people are getting exposed to the same products and the same thoughts and the same ideas all at once. We think that it's just us. So these spikes are there because everybody's kind of following this pattern. So two of the patterns happen kind of at the beginning of summer and end of summer. In the United States, it's around Memorial Day and around Labor Day. So that's the spike that I've talked about before. As schools end, people say, okay, you know what? We've made it through the school year. Now we've got the summer to get used to different living arrangements, different whatever. So time to separate, time to divorce, whatever. Then at the end of summer, people kind of go, okay, we made it through summer, gave the kids another great summer or an okay summer or whatever. We did that. But now we're back to schedules, right? The schedules kicked back in and here we are again. September or August, whatever, back to the schedule, time to make some changes. Those two are moderate days of spikes of people making inquiries about what's going to happen with their marriage, deciding to divorce or separate or even to work on things. Those are the three kind of big things. Do we separate? Do I go ahead and push for divorce? Do we actually work on that? And that can come at that time. But there is another one that's a bigger one. And that is what's become known as National Divorce Day. Doesn't have, and that's the United States, but I've talked with other people in other countries and it seems that humans do follow this pattern. And so National Divorce Day, as humans follow it, is the first Monday after the new year. Here's why. People are back. Kids are back to school. We're back in the office. It's kind of the first official full business day after the new year. Now this year it's a little bit quirky because it's a midweek, of New Year, and so I actually have already spoken with a buddy of mine who is a divorce attorney who's like, yeah, we're already getting the calls. So I know this is coming already. This is a day you don't want to commemorate. This is a day you don't want to have any part of. And that's why I'm trying to warn you about it. So I talked about this a year ago, and I said, hey, National Divorce Day is the first Monday of the new year. And so the end of that day, this guy emailed me, and this is kind of tragic. He emailed me, first message, and said, well, nothing happened. I'm still here. We're still married. I guess I dodged that. Maybe it's not so common after all. 1 week later and a day, Tuesday. Well, I guess I was wrong. I just was served paperwork. my wife is filing for divorce. So proof of concept is not what I like in this arena. I've spent my career trying to keep people from getting to that point. And yet, every year, I hear the same thing. People will email me, call me, text me, message me. They drop into my DMs. They slide into my DMs, as they say. And they're all kind of the same message at this period of time. Oh my gosh, I'm shocked and surprised, or I'm surprised, or I'm shocked, or, well, no surprise, but here it's happened. And what happens is that they get word, either officially through the attorney's legal channels, or a spouse saying, I need to let you know. So why is it this time of year? It kind of already makes sense if you haven't already thought about it. New year, new start. That's kind of the big theme for everything. Whatever you have had problems with, this is your chance to make a resolution, to make a plan, to make things different, to eat better, to exercise, to, stop drinking, to whatever it is, or to find happiness on a broader term. And if you believe that your marriage is bringing you unhappiness, one of the myths around this, then you could see why someone would say it's time to make that change. Now, when people contact me, sometimes they're surprised because they thought maybe things were going a little bit better. The holidays were pretty good. Sometimes they are surprised because they just didn't think that their spouse would take that action. After all, they made the vows to stay married, and here they are. Surprise. So I want you to understand that part of what's going on right now is this kind of reassessment that comes with the new year. People can use it to their advantage, but it can also serve this other purpose of making rational what you're deciding to do. You're trying to rationalize the decision to leave a marriage. Now, let me be very clear here. If you haven't picked up on this before, I am not suggesting that people stay in unhappy marriages. That is not the solution. I am not suggesting that people stay married for the kids. Not suggesting that people stay married because of finances or any other reason that I often hear of, well, if that's all that's keeping us together, we shouldn't do it. No. What you should do is build your marriage to make it a happy marriage. And that's the thing that I've been spending my career on. So ironically enough, there's another kind of milestone for me in this process. We just passed 25 years that I've been working with people online. I was already working with people. It's now been 36-ish years, 35, 36 years that I've been working with people, with couples, with individuals on relationship issues. And 25 years that I've had a website and that I've been helping people really around the world on this. And so here I am, a quarter of a century into this process online, and over a third of a century of helping marriages. So this is a big deal for me. And what I don't like is getting letters like those. I don't like it because I know that there are options available before things are that bad. There are possibilities available before we get to this day, right? Before we get to people who are taking action. Now, how bad is this spike? Well, enough so that my attorney friend actually brings in extra help to answer the phone, to take messages so that they can return them over the next week or so to see where things are. Now, you might be asking, why does Lee have a divorce attorney as a friend? Because this divorce attorney tries to see, is there possibility before we move forward? Is there a possibility to work on the marriage? Is there a way to save the marriage? If not, is there a way to preserve a post-marriage relationship, a co-parenting relationship in many instances? He's committed to that because he's seen the destruction that comes from divorce. And so he decided that while he was going to do that kind of law, he was going to do it in a way that tried to preserve whatever he could in relationships. I admire that. I think that there are plenty of times when people are going to divorce, and the next bad thing that happens is they get involved with the destructive process that can often come out in legal processes. I've met some bulldog attorneys that are there to really shred everything apart. Now, an attorney is there to protect your rights. I think in a divorce, the idea is to get a fair settlement that preserves what we can moving forward. This is not the time to take somebody for all they can. And so I respect attorneys who share that thought process. There are other attorneys that do the same as this person. I know because he works with them specifically. And so that's a very cool process to watch. Sometimes the marriage rolls out of that, and I've been a part of the process of helping people come out of, thinking about the divorce to having restored relationships. And part of that has been with our relationship. I've also watched as people said, it didn't work out, but I think we're going to be okay co-parenting. That to me is kind of the optimal. If you're going to end up in a divorce, to be able to walk away and say, we did everything we could. We couldn't do it. And we're okay with that. And now we're going to rebuild. That's okay. Optimal. And this is statistics research shows that the happiest people are people who are happily married. That they lead the list of everything. The first group, the highest group of ranking, I'll talk about this research another time in depth, but the highest group of happy people are happily married. Now, I didn't say that they had a perfect marriage. That doesn't exist. But they're happily married. They have found their way to move together as a team, as a we, as I talk about it. So we have some options. If you know that your marriage is in trouble, don't wait for the paperwork to appear at your door. Start working to restore the connection. That is what happened. Remember, way back in the early of these videos, I talked about the core reason that people get into trouble and they hit the pause button. It wasn't intentional. Nobody sets out, nobody gets married and says, I wonder how I'm going to screw this up. No, they think that they already have it, right? Our belief system in love is that love is going to carry us through marriage. And so people would come into my office premarital and say, we're okay. We don't need your help. We've already got this whipped. Yes, we know that lots and lots, almost half of marriages end in divorce. That's not us because we have true love. Others, they messed up. They didn't know what they had. They misjudged. We've got this. And I spent a lot of time having them come back to my office going, tell us what we need to do. We're in trouble. That was really my bar for that premarital session. I knew I wasn't going to get through to everyone because the mindset was, we've already got this. We got the love that'll carry us through. Mine was to be introduced to them, for them to understand that if they got into trouble, the earlier they got intervention, the better. That was my whole task. Can I get you to come back as soon as you're having problems before it becomes so entrenched that somebody says, I'm done, I'm out, whether it's in January or May or August or any other month of the year? Can we find a way of getting them to come in earlier? So you may say, maybe I've waited too long. Maybe it's too late for that. I would just suggest that there's only one way to find out, and that is to work on things, to try to bring it back. Don't wait for the paperwork to arrive to alert you to the fact that I was right about warning you about this date. What I would love to have happen is you send me an email saying, didn't happen to me, and now it's never going to happen because we've got the marriage we want. You see, prevention disappears. If you keep yourself from getting sick or injured or divorced, then you can say, see, we were never at risk, and we'll never know. The crisis is what points out that we've got an issue. So if you find yourself at a point where you already recognize that things are not going well with your marriage, let's turn it around. So I told you, been doing this for 25 years on the internet. That's a long time on the internet. Been doing this for 35 years with people. I can help you. You likely do not have a situation I have not seen many, many times before. So the starting point is my Save the Marriage system. You can find that at savethemarriage.com. That's savethemarriage.com. Now, let me tell you a couple of things that just are going on for right now, as long as I can. I have a team of coaches who will work with you. And so we're including a get started session. We want to make sure that you have the resources you need. There's no fee for that. It's not part of the system. It's a bonus. And we only promise it to people who are in the U.S. We try to work with people outside of the U.S., but sometimes that's hard based on time zones and all kinds of other things. But that is something that we do offer to U.S. citizens or people in the United States. The other thing that we have as a bonus that I'm offering is a 1-week free time in my VIP virtual coaching program. So it's 1 week. There's no charge for that week. You can stay much longer if you want to, but I want to make sure that you have the tools that you need along the way to get there. That includes like my apology letter formula and tools of connection and tons of other training that will be there, and other tools that will be there, like how to build a plan. I'll walk you through that process so you end up with a plan filled out. I have lots of other resources that can help you. My core mapping tool, tons of other resources. So if you grab my system, do sign up for that free week. It's the only time I offer it. And if you don't get offered it, it means that we're at capacity. We can't get anybody else in, so we close it off. And then do make sure that you sign up for that complimentary session with one of my coaches, the Get Started session. It's about a 15-20 minute session. And again, only promise it to people in the U.S. We'll try our best if you're elsewhere in the world. Don't let this day come along and surprise you 1 week later or 2 weeks later or a month later to know that the plans were brought into motion on National Divorce Day. That is not a day that you nor I want to ever commemorate. I'm wishing you the best as you continue to work to save your marriage.